there, it's another beautiful day. My name is Kemi TONY-AKINWUNMI. Welcome to another series we are starting on the show called Making Marriage Work. And this series will be taking questions from some of you, our online audience. And I have with me today on the show Mr. Kunle Emmanuel Adebayo, who would help in reading some of the questions. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first question that we have here. I think this is just going to be for this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, and this person says that I slapped my wife 3 times during an argument in our 2 years of being married. The last time we had a quarrel and I pushed her down, she left the house with our little baby. I've begged her for weeks, seeking her forgiveness, yet she has refused to return home. How do I get her to forget the past and return to me with our baby?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Yes, so this is a couple who've been married 2 years from the story.
Yeah.
And then they have arguments.
Yeah.
And that is actually common to a lot of couples. There will be some differences, some misunderstandings, some conflict that would happen in every marriage. But then how we address those issues, how we resolve those issues are very, very important. Because once issues get out of hand or once violence comes into the marriage, it automatically changes the dynamics of that relationship. So in the case of this person, from what he said, he has slapped the wife about 3 times. Yeah, so the first time,
in a space of 2 years.
In a space of 2 years. Yeah. And then at the last occasion, the woman decided to leave the house with the baby. So one would assume the woman is being sensible because she knows that she wants to be alive to take care of the child. And so now this is a man we can say is physically abusive towards the woman. But at the moment from his question, he seems remorseful. He wants the wife back, he wants the baby back. But then the wife coming back home, what has changed about him? So if the woman needs to return, is she returning to the same old man who is an abuser, or someone who has recognized that he has some limitations and needs some help? So the man needs to understand begging the wife to return home is not enough. If she returns home and she's not sure of the next week, of the next month, now you have slapped her, you have graduated to push her. Maybe the next time would be to punch her or stab her or something. You know, when you hear cases of, oh, the husband poured acid on the wife stabbed the man, it is not just an incident that happened once. It has actually been repeated, series of anger or issues not properly managed that one day escalated and there was an outrage. Right, so but for that man, he needs to keep apologizing. He has apologized for weeks, as he said. So if it's going to take him months to do that, he needs to continue. And then part of the things he can do to also make the woman reason with him and to forgive him easily is to admit that he's wrong, admit he needs help. I don't want to label him as someone who has temper problem, but it appears so. That once he gets angry, he has to settle the quarrel with a fist or with physical combat. Yeah, so let him tell the wife, I'm not going to do this again, and these are the steps I'm willing to take, which is 1, check in with a counselor. If you have anger management problem, you may require some psychosocial support to help you deal with that. So let him check in for counseling. Let him write an undertaking if needs be, if that is actually going to allay the fears of the woman. Let the woman see that this man is going through some form of therapy to help him deal with himself first. It's not, I know for the woman to have married you, yes, she loves you, she has a child for you, yes, you need to keep apologizing and then work on yourself. By the time that work is in progress, is in process, and your wife can see that, yes, my husband is getting some help, she can be rest assured she's coming back to a man who would, want to
reformed.
Yeah, informed and is seeking some help for his own personal growth. Because if that doesn't happen, she's coming back again, and who knows, there will be quarrels in relationships. And so when there are quarrels, they should seek help, seek counseling, talk to someone before it gets bad. Your hands are to caress and love your wife, not to punch and slap. So let him get some help. I'm sure that would help. And then the woman can forgive. But forgiveness also, I must say, is a choice. Forgiveness and reconciliation are two different things. The woman can forgive you and decide not to reconcile with you. But then, I think if he starts the help to get some support for himself, some assistance for himself to deal with his anger, write an undertaking, plead with her, get people that can talk to her to plead, and then tell them you are working on yourself and promise her that you won't do it again. Okay.
Right, that's fine. I'm just going to digress a little bit.
Right.
I'm just going to say that, you see, some of our women, of our ladies, our wives, in any way we could call them. So sometimes they seem to face this kind of issues, or I mean battering, that's what they call it, battering, and some, for one reason or the other, they had refused to leave the house, and it keeps getting worse, it keeps getting very bad. So is it, for this lady, she moved out.
Yeah.
So for the ones that will not move out, what can the person actually do? Though you're still in there, so you will still be getting the beatings or all those kind of stuff, but what can you do to make sure that these things are, things are better?
Right.
Yeah.
So, for the lady, we must say she's courageous, she's informed, and she wants to live. She doesn't want to die. Because having to live with someone who has a bit of, the tendency to hit, one has to be very wise living with such a person. But to answer your question, that there are some women who are in abusive relationships who have then decided to remain and not leave. There are many factors that point to any reason why a woman will remain in an abusive marriage where she's been violated, she's been battered, she's been assaulted. Some is for economic reasons, some for societal, stigma, some for lack of understanding, some because they don't even know they're in an abusive relationship. Because the abnormal has become normal to some women, and they feel, it's okay, it's all good. And somehow, some women they get to a point where they see themselves as deserving of the abuse. Oh, I was the one that angered him. Oh, I was the one that made him slap me, made him hit me. So we have all of those issues playing out differently. So there are several factors that may make a woman stay. And also, some women stay because they don't have anywhere to go. They've got no family support. They've got no shelter. And then this man is still responsible somehow for the upkeep of the children. So there are lots of rationale that a woman then considers to make her stay. But to answer your question properly, so if she decides to stay, how can she limit the violence? Yeah. Right, because there are peculiarities to this. There are different scenarios that we can begin to talk about. But in protecting herself, she has to first of all realize that her life is important. She wants to be in that marriage is not enough as much as she wants to be alive. Only an individual who is alive can be in a marriage and then can mother her children, right? So sometimes we have had to coach women who are in abusive relationship on that when their partner, on the onset of that anger, because we will have tracked the trajectory of things. Okay, this is how you start. There's a conflict, there's malice, there's stonewalling, and then he gets silent, then he drinks, then he comes back drunk, and then he beats me. There are some like that. Yeah. So by the time you study the trajectory of things that happen in that relationship, it's easier for you to customize a solution for them. But because you don't have a very, so what we do now is that once we look at that, we then tell the woman, the most important thing is for you to be safe. If it requires you to pick your bag and your children at that time to look for safety, if it requires you calling someone, if it requires you even hiding in a room and locking the door, as long as this other person doesn't have the physical contact with you to hit you. Because at that time, you may not be able to control the range of anger from your partner, either the man or the woman. But at that time, you can control yourself. You can be sensible enough to hide or to run away or to call for help or do something to distract your partner and then be safe. So there are various other ways we can coach someone who wants to remain in an abusive relationship while they are also going through counseling for their mental stability.
So, in other words, the counseling part is very, very important.
It's very important. It's very important.
It's important for the wife, equally important for the
husband, the abuser and the violated person and the prey. It's important for both parties.
Right. Thank you very much. I think you have answered the question.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you. We can change the African society by impacting the African family one at a time.